Um, um, Good evening, family. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, friends. Um, Something just bothered me today. It really bothered me today, and I decided to share it with family and friends. Uh, you know, um, I was watching a video. I was watching a video about our people in our brothers and sisters in Nigerians in Indonesia, I think, or Malaysia, and then they were demonstrating as to against the Malaysia or Indonesian authority brutality against them. And I also saw in Lebanon, I think, the way Ghanaians have been mistreated in Lebanon, how Ghanaians have been manhandled in Lebanon, and they are crying for government to come and come to their aid. Yeah. And I wonder why, what is happening to us all over the world? Why are we being treated like that? But I come to the realization that we are our own problem. We are the cause of our own problems. And it's about time we try to correct the mistakes of the past or the mistakes of our forefathers. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because today I went for shopping just down here, just a walking distance from my house. And on my way coming back, I was following this lady and a man walking together. So I was walking behind them, and they were kind of like talking about how, I'm not gonna mention the name, a certain tribe in Ghana. They were Ghanaians, and they were talking about how they hate and how they don't like this particular tribe in Ghana or group of people in Ghana. So I was kind of like, whoa, no wonder we are suffering all over the world, because this hatred, this anger that we have for each other, if we are not able to sort it out, then we will continue to suffer all over the world. Our people will continue to suffer everywhere they go in this world. Because the reality is that we are suffering not because we are weak, but we are suffering just because we are not united as a people. You see, one thing this generation of people have to realize is that just because your father or just because your great-grandparents had problem with my great-grandparents, it doesn't mean that me and you should also continue from where they left. In a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that just because your father and my father were enemies, it doesn't mean me and you should be enemies as well. Because your father and my father, when they were enemies, it led them into slavery. It didn't take them anywhere. So why should me and you continue from that when we know that it has no benefit? It's not going to benefit you. It's not going to benefit me. Because the reality is that if our ancestors or if our forefathers, if they were united, there is no way they could have been enslaved by Arabs or the Europeans. Never. But they were defeated purposely because of the disunity among them. And then we for some reason, for some reason, we continue from their legacy. We continue from where they left. And if we don't take time, Chinese are coming. They'll capitalize on our disunity, and we all know what the outcome is gonna be. So I think it's about time we, the new generation of Africans, correct the mistakes of our forefathers. As I said, they made a lot of mistakes. And the major one was the disunity among them. That was the only reason why the Europeans and the Arabs were able to conquer them. It was because of their disunity. They were never united to stand with each other. So in most cases, they compromised. Some of them compromised, and then their oppressors took advantage of that and then defeated them. And then they become weak, they conquered them, and then today we are suffering from that. So when I was coming and then I heard somebody talking about how he hates a particular tribe or a particular group of people in Ghana, I was kind of like, why? Why should it be so? Why should we always walking around showing hatred towards each other? Why can't we show love among ourselves, which will go a long way to benefit us? What our ancestors or our forefathers didn't help us, and then we shouldn't continue that legacy, because it's not going to help our children and our children's children. As I said, we cannot deny the fact that some of our ancestors compromised with the Europeans. That is the reason why we become slaves. That is the reason why they were able to colonize us. Because just come to think of it, if the entire West Africa or the entire Africa has united against colonialism, I don't think we could have been defeated. I don't think we could have been colonized. But because we couldn't unite against those who sit down and plan and divide Africa among themselves, because we couldn't unite, and they came with a strategy, divide and conquer. They use that, and they get what they want. They get through. So today, we, the new generation of Africans, we have to put it aside. We don't have to continue from that legacy. We have to see each other as one people. One good thing about Africa is that we are a very diverse continent. Diversity is so huge in Africa. We are diverse in Africa, but one thing that is uniting us is our culture. We speak more than 2,000 languages, but our culture, the similarities in our culture tell us that we are one people. So for somebody to be walking on the street, I was so honestly disheartened. For somebody to be walking on the street, or for some people to be walking on the street, and they had the confidence to talk about how a man, the way they hate one group of people in our society just because of their tribal differences. I was like, whoa, what a minute. No wonder our people are suffering everywhere in the world because of the disunity among us. So if we, the new generation of Africans, can realize the damaging impact of tribalism among us, if we can realize it, it will be good for us. Because our ancestors made a great mistake by not realizing that, and that was the only reason why the Arabs were able to conquer them. That was the only reason why the Europeans were able to conquer them. Why? Because they never united against their common enemy. And then we are continuing from that. It is very unfortunate, it is very sad that you have a young generation of Africans walking around and then thinking that I am coming from this part of Africa, I am coming from this tribe, so because of that, I don't like that one, I hate that one, and all that. It's never going to take us anywhere. So I think, to be honest, I'm so disheartened, I'm not happy that I could see young people walking on the streets in UK, and they are talking about the way how they don't like a group of people. And as I said, no wonder you see our people in Indonesia demonstrating, Nigerians. No wonder you see Ghanaians in Lebanon. Can you just imagine Ghanaians in Lebanon, a war zone area? Lebanon, they have been in war for ages, for centuries. And then Ghanaians are traveling there to hustle. Can you just sit down and think about that? Why should it be so? It is so because we refuse to come together. We refuse to unite against our common enemies. It is as simple as that. It is because we refuse to know who we are, and we refuse to unite against our common enemy. That is why all over the world you see African people or black people suffering. It is not because we are weak. It is not because we don't have the intellectual capacity. It is not because we don't have the physical strength. It is because we are not united. And as I said, we have over 2,000 different languages in Africa. That shows our level of diversity. But there is one thing that is uniting us, and that is our melanin. And then the earlier we recognize it, the better for all of us. Because when the Europeans sat in Berlin to divide Africa among themselves, they never think about their differences. They think about their common goal. They never think about their differences. They think about what they can gain out of Africa. Even though when they come back to Europe, they are divided. They are French, they are English, they are German, they are whatever. But when they go into Africa to colonize, they are Europeans. So why can't we also see ourselves as Africans? Put aside our differences when we are dealing with other people, rather than always fighting among ourselves and becoming weaker, and all over the world everybody is taking advantage of us. It is very unfortunate. It shouldn't be so. This video is not going to take long. I just came to voice out my disappointment in our level of, I would say, tribalism that has been killing us centuries ago. Because as I said, there is no way the Arabs invaders were going to be able to defeat our ancestors if we were united. No way. They took advantage of our differences, our disunity, and they conquer us. That is why today you see some of us, we love them more than we love ourselves. And there was no way the Europeans were going to defeat African people if we were united. They were able to do it because we were disunited. The disunity among us. And today we continue from that legacy. Our ancestors were wrong on that, and we must admit it. They compromised. That is why we were defeated, and that is why slavery were able to come to Africa. And today, we are still walking around thinking that this one is better than that one, and that one is better than that one. No, man. We are all victims of this colonialism. Why can't we realize it and then come together and then sort this thing out? Rather than all over the world crying for help. How on earth can Ghanaians be suffering in Lebanon? Ghana has never had a civil war. Lebanon, they are always in war. So how can a peaceful country like Ghana cannot manage themselves, and the children, especially our women, traveling to these Middle East countries and going through all this inhuman treatment? Do we have to, can't we ask ourselves, what's the reason? I am telling you, the reason is because of our disunity. The mistakes our ancestors did that put us in this bondage, if we don't correct that mistakes, and if we don't recognize it and correct that mistakes, we are bound to repeat the same mistakes. And I am telling you, our children will continue to be in that. It's about time we recognize it. It's about time we realize it. And it's about time we put an end to it. We Africans are one people, whether we like it or not. As I said, there is one thing uniting us. We are diverse in language, tribe, and all that. But there's one thing uniting us, that is our culture, the similarities in our culture. Because if you take every single cultural practice in Africa, you realize that it's all going one direction. It tells you that there was a time that we were one people. Migration, traveling, and all that separated us. Yeah. So we should put aside all these language barriers, differences, and realize that we are one people and we are facing one common enemy. People who will always divide us, conquer us, and take our resources for their own benefit. It's about time Africans realize that. And then if the quicker we realize it, maybe it can help to bring an end to this new colonialism by Chinese. Because I cannot imagine people like Chinese people coming to take over Africa. Are you gonna tell me we are the weakest? We are the weaker race in the world? Nah, man. It shouldn't be so. Because, and if we're gonna prove to the world that it is not like that, then it's about time we put an end to it. Because the Arabs came more than 2,000 years. They enslaved us. They dehumanize us. They do everything to us. And after that, they handle us to the Europeans. The Europeans came, they did the same thing to us. And now the Europeans are handling Africa to the Chinese. Black people, why can't we realize it, African people, and stop all this petty hatred among ourselves? Because the hate among ourselves is just too much. As I said, I was so shocked to hear somebody, two people, talking as to how they don't like a group of one particular tribe in Ghana. Nigerians are facing the same problem. That's why you see them all over the world. Ethiopians in Ethiopia is the same. But at the end of the day, we are all suffering. When you travel outside of Africa, nobody don't know what tribe you're coming from, which tribe you are from. They don't care about that. The only thing they know is that you are nothing. And they must disrespect you. That's all. They don't care whether you are Igbo, you are Hausa, you are Dagomba, you are Akan, you are whatever. It doesn't really matter to them. They don't even know it. All that they know is this is somebody who deserves to be a slave. Why? Because they are not united. So what should me and you do? What can we do? What should we do? Should we continue to the legacy of disunity that our forefathers left for us? Because I always say it's a controversial issue. It's a controversial topic. People don't want to say it. We don't want to admit it. But I am telling you, without the compromise of our ancestors, there was no way what happened to us could have happened to us. No way the Europeans could have done what they did to us. No way the Arabs could have done what they did to us. But it was because some of us compromised. And today, as I said, some people are still compromising, especially our politicians, they are still compromising. To talk about our politicians is a different topic altogether. We can talk about that later. But for now, let us, as I said, let us break the barriers. Let us break the barriers. The little differences that is making us to become slaves all over the world. That is making us to become that is giving the people the opportunity to mistreat us everywhere in the world. It is not the best thing. It is not the best thing. It is not helping us. It didn't help our ancestors, and it's not going to help us. So the earlier we make an end to it, the better. The earlier we see ourselves as one people, the better. The earlier the Frafra man realizes that he is good as the Ashanti man, the Akan man realizes that he is good as the Hausa man realizes that he is good as the Fulani man the better for all of us, because we have been divided for so long, and our division has not helped us. Let us be honest to each other. Our division has not really helped us. All this long, it didn't help us. So it's about time we put an end to that. And if we do that, I think Africa will be a better place for everybody, for all of us. And if we continue to be seeing each other's in differences, hatred among ourselves, anger, and all that kind of stuff, then we all know the result, the outcome, what the outcome gonna be. The outcome is the situation that our brothers and sisters are finding themselves all over the world. In Asia, in Middle East, in Europe, and in America. I think it's about time we talk about these things. Is, as I said, it's the hard truth. It's the hard truth. We normally don't want to say we are part of our own problems. We are our worst enemies, if I should put it that way. We normally don't. We sometimes try to make it look like our ancestors, we were just sitting down and people just invaded us and they started taking us into slavery. But it wasn't like that. The truth fact is that some of us compromised to the enslavement of our people. That is the real fact. Some of us compromise, because if we had made a conscious decision that we will never allow anybody to enslave us, there is no way they could have done it. If we had made a conscious decision that we either die or be slaves, I don't think it could have happened. But why? Some people among us, this is a history. Maybe this is something that, with time, I'll start talking about those stuff, because I know what I'm talking about. And I know that those warlords who call themselves kings and queens, those warlords who call themselves kings and queens in Africa, most of them participated in the dehumanization of our people. Most of them contributed into this. So we, the new generation of Africans today, must make sure that we do everything that we can to put an end to this hatred among ourselves, this bitterness among ourselves, and then focus and see what we can do to put dignity into our race as well. Because everywhere in the world you go, you see people. Like everywhere you go, people think that you shouldn't be part of the conversation. Everywhere you go, everybody think that you are a liability. Why should it be so? As we're saying, we keep saying we are the richest continent in the world, but riches is not based on resources. Sure, true, we have the resources, but do we have the mind to make sure that our resources benefit us? No. Do we have the mind to make sure that the resources that we have benefit us? No. We don't have it. So when I see people saying we are queens, we are kings, and all that kind of stuff, I sit back and I'm like, whoa, what makes you a king? You are nothing but a slave? Because that is what the world sees you. Why? Because of the disunity among us. Because of the disunity among us, everybody think we are a liability. So we can go about calling ourselves kings and queens, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a kingdom to show to the world, then you are nothing but a slave. And that is who we are. It's about time we come together and realize if we really want to be kings and queens on this planet Earth, then we must act as kings and queens. We must put dignity on ourselves. And then we cannot achieve that if we are not united. As I said, you cannot be walking around showing hatred to other people or other tribe or whatever. You cannot be walking around showing hatred and calling yourself kings and queens. It's not possible. As I said, how can you be kings and queens when your sisters and brothers are in Lebanon crying for help and nobody's coming to their aid? How can you be kings and queens when your brothers are in Indonesia or Malaysia, Nigerians? Look at how they are suffering there. And then you call yourself kings and queens. Yes, bro, brother Kweku, we are nothing but slaves. That is how the world see us. And they see us like that because of our mistakes. As I said, our ancestors made that mistakes. And then we have to correct that mistakes. We cannot deny the fact that we compromise to the enslavement of our own people. We cannot deny the fact. And if we today, if we are not ready to correct the mistakes of our past, our ancestors, we will continue to be slaves, just as we are today. Because the fact is, how can a continent of vast resources, citizens will be dying on their way to Libya, on their way to America and Brazil? How can everywhere in the world an African thing is safer than Africa? How did we get there? Who put us there? We put ourselves there. Why? Because of the disunity, because of the hatred we have for each other. And it's about time we put an end to it. And as I'm saying, the other day, that was last year. I went to see a friend of in the airport because he was traveling. And what amazes me is that he had a luggage, and then there was too much, like his luggage there was too much stuff in the luggage, so he needed to remove some of it. And then we were looking for somebody to help us. And then there were these African brothers sitting down. Just because of the language we were speaking, they refused to come to our aid. Purposely because of that. How on earth, when are we going to stop doing that to ourselves? Because at the end of the day, we all become victims. But if we unite and then realize that, hey, you may be speaking different language, I am speaking different language, but at the end of the day, we are still one people. Because as I said, when you travel outside of Africa, nobody don't care what language you speak and even what religion that you belong to. If you travel outside of Africa, nobody don't care. They will disrespect you as long as you have melanin in you. As long as you are a melanated person, they don't care what language. They don't even know. And that is why sometimes, most of the time, people think that Africa is a country. And some people get angry for that. I never get angry because of somebody think Africa is a country. Yes, it should be. Even though it's a continent, but it should be a country. It should be seen as a country, because at the end of the day, people are telling us that we are one people, but we are denying it. You see, people get angry because a friend of mine was saying he doesn't understand how ignorant these white people are, because they always try to make Africa look like a country. I said, no, man. They are just trying to tell us that we are one people. We are from one country. So if they are thinking that we are one country, so we should become one then, for our own good. Because all these barriers, all these little countries, country of 4 million people, country of 10 million people and all that, it was never our plan. We never come out with that decision. It was in Berlin that people sit down and decide that, you know what? And those people who sit in Berlin conference and decide to share Africa among themselves, they were never united. They were never one people. But they realized that coming together in Europe, going to Africa to divide Africa among themselves will benefit them. That was the only reason why they did that. They did that because they know the benefit that they're going to get, not because they were united. The English and the French has never been one. The English and the French have never been one. The French and the Germans, same thing, they have never been one. They have never united. But when it comes to Africa, they will come together, they will unite, and then go there and get what they want. But when they are coming, and then they give me a gun, and they tell me, you know what, you are a sorry, I don't know what happened to the video. Yeah, they give me a gun and tell me that, you know what, you are a Frafra man, and then he is a Gonja man, so you go and kill him, and then you go and kill him, and then bring what he has so that we share, and then you don't have brain, and then you do it, and then you're gonna blame the European for that. Nah, man, it's about time we start taking responsibility of our actions, because we cannot continue to blame other people for what we are doing to ourselves. We cannot, because I will never blame somebody, or I will not put a blame on a European. If he give me gun to go and kill my own brother and I do it, it means I don't have brain. I can't think beyond my nose, because if you can think beyond your nose, you'll realize that, you know what, let me sit back and realize that, this brother that I'm gonna kill, the resources, why can't me and my brother come together and use that resources for our own benefit? Because for so long, that resources that we've been fighting among ourselves, it never benefit us. The fight that we are fighting never benefit us. Is only sending our people to Malaysia and sending our people to Lebanon to do slavery. That is the only thing it is helping us to do. It is helping us fighting among ourselves and killing each other. It's only helping us to be slaves. That is the only thing it is helping us to. So why can't we stop it? In Congo, I was watching this documentary about Congo. If anybody, the game, I think they call it the game or something like that. If you can watch it on Netflix, try and watch it. And they were telling, I heard it live because they were undercover journalists who were interviewing a British man in Congo who was saying that, you know what, these Africans, the only thing they need is gun. You just give them gun, they will start shooting each other, and then we'll take what we want. How did they think about you? And true, when they come and then give your brother gun to go and kill the another brother, they start killing each other and then focusing on shooting each other, and then they'll be taking the resources. Don't you think it's about time we put an end to that? It's about time we put an end to shooting each other, taking guns from people who never want the best for us. Don't you think it's about time we stop doing that and then rather uniting for the common goal, benefit of our own and the generations to come? Because as I said, our fathers, our great-grandfathers did that mistake and then it never helped them. It shouldn't be the case that because my father and your father were enemies, me and you should continue to be enemies. No. We as Africans must put an end to that. Just because my father and your father had a grudge among themselves, just because they were fighting among themselves, me and you should continue that fight. Because that fight never bring them any help. So me and you should make sure that we put an end to it. But if we're going to continue from where our fathers left, from where our ancestors left, killing each other, so that the Europeans will have a hand, they can be taking their resources to develop their part of the world, and then today we continue to become slaves. Me and you can decide that, no, you know what, we're not going to be fighting among ourselves. Just as I said, just like in Congo, what are they fighting for? In South Sudan, what are they fighting for? They are only fighting because the brain is not, the brain is at sleep. Because for what benefit are they getting by fighting among themselves? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only benefit that they are getting is that those who are giving them the guns are taking their resources. Is that a benefit? No. So what can they do, or what should we do? Put an end to those, silence those guns, and then start to use our brain so that we can be free and our children can be free. But if not, if we're going to continue taking guns and shooting each other, then we shouldn't be surprised when we see our people, our brothers are suffering in Malaysia. We shouldn't be surprised when we see African girls being molested, being killed, being dehumanized in the Middle East. We shouldn't be surprised. Why are we surprised? Sometimes it surprises me when we are surprised. Sometimes it surprises me when we are surprised what is happening to us. It is happening to us because of the actions we are taking, because of our own actions. Because we are the only people who take pleasure in destroying our own. At all levels, we are the only people who take pleasure destroying ourselves. As I said, it is just common sense that when somebody come and tell you that, you know what, as in, your brother Eisenhower is very brilliant. So you know what? I'm gonna give you a gun. There is a resources in his house. I'm gonna give you a gun. Go and shoot him. Go and kill him so that me and you will share. The only thing I can say is, you know what? He's my brother. Why can't me and him collaborate to benefit, to tap from his knowledge, rather than me killing him to take his property? It doesn't make sense. But that is how people see us. I am telling you, when I was watching that particular documentary about Congo, and this European guy, British guy, was saying that the only thing the Africans will want, the only thing they will want is guns. He said, you know what, let's drink our champagne, let's give them guns. And then the undercover journalist was asking him, are you sure? And then he said, I assure you, we can just call the leader and then we can promise him, and then the only thing he will want is the gun. And then, you know, we can supply them the guns and they will start killing each other, and then we'll get what we want. And true, when they start supplying them the guns, they start shooting and killing each other, and they start taking their resources. So who are we to blame? Are we going to blame the supplier of these ammunitions, or are we going to blame ourselves who are taking the guns to shoot each other, point it at each other and shoot at each other? I think in reality, it's about time we as African people began to take responsibilities of our actions and to realize that everything that has been happening to us for the past 2,000 years is of our own cause. Because if we decide that we want to put an end to that, it will be end. We can end it by loving and recognizing each other as brothers and sisters. But if we continue to sit down and continue to think that I am better than that one because he's from Nigeria, I am better than that one because he's from South Africa. First of all, South Africa and Nigeria never existed during the days of our ancestors. Who put it down for us? Who sit down and divide us? A certain man came out with the idea. What was his name? The Chancellor, Bismarck, the German Chancellor. He came out, and can we imagine today we even have an Africans who names are called Bismarck? Somebody who sit down, come out with an idea to make sure that they divide you, put you into slavery, into bondage. Then you're walking around calling your name Bismarck. That tells you that the African has been misled. That tells you that we have been conquered physically, spiritually, and mentally. But it is just up to me and you, we, the new generation of Africans, to realize, to correct the mistakes of our forefathers. Because as I said, without any doubt, if some of our forefathers did not compromise, there is no way they were gonna be able to defeat us. They compromised. And today, some of us are compromising. Some of us don't want to figure out what has been our problem. And our problem has been the self-hate, the hatred, the little hatred that we have among ourselves, the jealousy we have among ourselves. That is leading us to that. If we can put an end to that, yes, no society is perfect. As far as humanity is concerned, there will always be some differences. But one thing I notice is that no matter what, you meet a European, if there's a problem between an African and a European, they will always try to be dodgy as to speaking, even if the African have right, it's right, they'll always try to be dodgy. Why? Because it's by nature that you must think for your own first. It's as simple as that. It's a law of nature that you must think for your own first. And then the others will take care of themselves. But when it comes to us, we always think about other people first. And then among ourselves, we always try to look for reasons as to why we cannot unite it. We always try to find reasons as to why we cannot do it. Why? How on earth that a group of people like Chinese, this, sorry for my French, but these little people will come to Africa and then be taking our resources, be giving our people little money. The other day I was listening to brother Openya Jekum that Chinese people are paying Ghanaians, is it $2 or $1 for 12 hours work? $1 for 12 hours work in a day. And nobody is there to protect them because there is some selfish guy sitting somewhere who think that this person is not for my family. You know, that greedy selfishness that we cultivate into our minds, thinking that because it is not my son, he can work for all I care for $1. It is not my son, so forget about him. So let us, we the new generation of Africans, let us cultivate that self-love. Let us come to realize that when I see my brother working for $1 a day, it is me who is working for that $1 a day. Because if I am not able to help him, if he go to Lebanon and be disrespected, wherever a Lebanese man found me, he would disrespect me, because the reality is that you can never grow bigger than your race. You can't. Marcus Garvey said you can never go bigger than your race. So as long as the African in Africa continue to be disrespected, African everywhere in the world will be disrespected. As long as black people in Africa continue to remain the condition that it is today, I am telling you, black people all over the world will never have the same respect. You know what? Why do you think European people, or why do you think white people, whatever they found themselves, people respect them? Because Europe is respected. Because Europe is respected. Wherever you found a European or a white person, in Saudi Arabia, in Africa, in a village, even people who cannot speak their language respect them. Ask yourself why. It's because the Europeans earn that respect, and then respect is earned or is taken. You don't beg for it. And then we as African people we think that we're going to be sitting down and be mourning and be crying and be begging, and one day people will just feel sympathy on us and then handle us our freedom. No, it's going to come from me and you. It's going to come from me and you. The decisions that we take today will determine how or what people should do to us when they see us. If people should see us and respect us, it will depend on the decisions that we make or we take. And if people are going to continue to disrespect us, it will depend on the decisions that we take. So what decision do you think we should take? Should we continue to see ourselves different, or it's about time we realize that, you know what, there is nothing like Liberia? No, there is nothing like Sierra Leone. No, there is nothing like Djibouti. There's nothing like Ethiopia. We are all one people, and then we have to respect each other wherever we find ourselves. I was again watching in Ethiopia, the seat of Pan-Africanism. In Ethiopia, the seat of African Union, and then Ghanaians were crying for the government of Ghana to come help them, because they are kicking them out because their work permit is finished. How is that possible in Africa, in your own continent, or let's say in your own country? Why should Africans be kicked out in Africa, whilst Chinese are walking around without even permit? Chinese are walking around without even permit, and then we glorify them, we respect them, we treat them with honor and dignity. Was our own, and as I said, it all got something to do with the self-hate that we cultivated, and then we've been doing that for so long. And it has never helped us. It didn't help us thousands of years ago, and it is not helping us today. Are we going to continue with that? No, we shouldn't. It's about time we put an end to that. And then if we do that, it will go a long way to help us. We are one people as African people. It doesn't matter. The tribal differences is only go a long way to tell us that we are a people of creativity. Because I speak a different dialect doesn't mean that me and you are different. Because if you watch culturally, we are one people. And as I said, when we were traveling far away from Egypt to today West Africa, we came as one people. But migration, little migration, bring this small or whatever you can call it, as that we call tribes today. But go deeper, you will realize that we are united, we are one people. So it's about time we realize that, and if we realize it, then we can be respected. Our people will stop, will not suffer again like they are doing in all these Middle East countries and then all these Asian countries. But if we gonna continue from where our ancestors left, then we will wait for the change. Because as I said, just because my father and your father were enemies, it doesn't make me and you an enemies. They made a mistake, and then me and you have to correct it, because their mistakes is what is making Africa suffer today. The mistakes that they made by fighting among themselves is what is making the black people all over the world suffering today. So why can't me and you sit down and realize that, you know what, we have to correct that mistakes, because we don't want our children to be seen, to be dehumanized, to be disrespected, to be walking around in this world as if like they are second-class citizens. Because today, as we speak, there are a group of people, or the European, let me just make it clear, the Europeans are the first-class citizens of this earth, because they have the opportunity to travel all over the world. They can go wherever they want. But you as an African, ask yourself, can you take a Ghanaian passport and travel all over the world like the way you want? No, you require visa. The American doesn't require that. They travel wherever they want. The English, the Europeans, let me just put it that way. Why? Because they earn it. We can only do it if we are united. As I said, when they were going to Berlin, the Berlin conference, they were not one people. They were not united. But they realized that, you know what, we are going to conquer some people, to colonize them, and then to take their resources to build our nation. So we have no choice than to unite. That is why they did it. Today, we as African people, we have no choice than also to unite. Our unity will go a long way to help us, rather than our disunity. And then it is going to come from us, we the new generation of Africans. We cannot continue from where our fathers left. They were wrong. Yes, they were wrong. They took decisions that did not help them. In their subconscious or in their mind, they were thinking that this one is better than this and that one is better than that. It didn't help them. Me and you should realize that when they come to enslave us, they don't care which part of Africa that you are located, which geographical part of Africa that you are located. When they come, they will just take all of you and dump you somewhere, and then you will work for free, just like our ancestors did for 400 years. Because of their mistakes, we cannot continue to follow that path. It's about time we put an end to that. Let us unite. There is one thing uniting us, that is our melanin. Let us see ourselves as brothers and sisters, and let us do everything that we can to put an end to this suffering of our people. We become like a liability to everybody in this planet Earth, wherever you go. And it is like that because our home is not good. If your home is not good, if you take your children to my house every day and then you are begging for food, my children will never respect you. It's a fact. It's the common law of nature. My children wouldn't respect you. But if they see that today you bring your children, tomorrow I'm taking you there to also look for food, then there will be respect between us. And that is the problem about Africa. We walk all over the world begging for food. And a beggar has no choice, and a beggar can never be respected. So it's about time we realize it and try to make an end to that. It will help us. It will help us. Because as I said, we have the most resources on Earth, on this planet Earth. So how come people who have the most resources on this planet Earth are walking all over the world suffering? We have no food to eat, no clean water to drink, even though Congo alone can provide the entire continent clean water to drink. But even in Congo, they don't have clean water to drink. Why is it so? These are questions we should be asking ourselves. Why is it so? Why can't we put the guns aside? Why can't we put the hatred among us aside? Why can't we realize that our division is the cause of our problems? So that we unite and take and make good use of our resources so that our resources can benefit us. Because all over the world, people who doesn't even have the resources, the kind of resources that we have, we are running to them to beg them for food. Why? Why should it be so? Africans, let us tell each other the hard truth. And the truth is that it's like that because of our disunity. And if we began to realize and tell each other the truth, that we are the real enemies of ourselves, we are the cause of our problems, and then we shouldn't continue to repeat the same mistakes that our ancestors did by compromising to the enslavement of our people. If we do that, it will be of our own good. And if we refuse, then sorry to say that our children, which may the ancestors forbid, that is not what we will wish. We wouldn't want to see our children, our daughters traveling to Lebanon. Is it not laughable? It's so laughable that our people will even travel to Afghanistan, to places where there are bombs, there is war. The African is ready to go there to look for food. It's so pathetic. It's disheartening. Places that there is war, our people are ready to travel there to look for food. Ask yourself, why? How? Why should it be so? How come our resources look like it's a curse to us? How come we have all these resources, but yet we cannot even have water to drink, clean water to drink? It's because of our disunity. And the earlier we recognize it, the better. Sorry, I don't know what happened today. I don't know what happened. Yeah, so brothers and sisters, as I said, I didn't really wanted to do this, but I didn't have no choice then to do it. And then with time, I'll be coming to talk about some of these issues because it has been long overdue. Most of the time, we don't want to be talking about this stuff because we think that it's sensitive issues and stuff like that. And then we always want to put the blame on other people. Yes, it's true that we've been enslaved for many years and it has its own psychological effect on us. But they could not have done it to us if we did not compromise, if we did not participate on what happened to us. Yes. So let me just say I thank everybody for coming around. Area Governor and Jangbuni, I thank everybody for coming around. It's getting too late. It's getting to 12 o'clock. So thank you very much everybody for coming around. And then let us as African people wake up to the realization that we are one people, and then we must do everything we can to unite. As Kwame Nkrumah said, united we stand, divided we fall. And then if we do that, what our children or what our ancestors went through and what we are going through, our children wouldn't face it. But if we don't correct the mistakes of our fathers, our children will also face what we are facing today. And that is walking around the world without dignity. It's a fact. We're walking around without dignity just because we are disunited. United we stand, divided we fall. So we as new generation of Africans, we have the chance never before afforded to any generation of Africans to make Africa a better place. And that will come from our unity. Let us see each other as one. Let us put all these, our tribal differences aside, and let us realize that, and let us focus on what is uniting us, and that is our melanin. I thank you, everybody. Brother Akosi, thank you very much. My dear sister, Ofuri, thank you very much for coming around. May the ancestors, may God bless all of us. Thank you very much. Have a blessed night or afternoon, whatever you may be.